I think we are all very, very impressed by the coverage so far, and we are hoping that in the course of the week, various conversations will still go on about the campaign and all the issues that have come up. So without further ado, let me say we are expressing deep gratitude, and we are thanking God for the safety of our movement and all, and hoping that all of us can get back home very safely. Together, let's work very hard so that we can win this. So let me just say that Mr. Mahama and the team are all grateful. I'm hoping that the campaign manager will be joining us soon, and all the other members who traveled with the campaign team. So as you all know, we started a few days ago. We've come to a very successful conclusion, and we are hoping that the next few steps will be just as good, and hopefully you'll still be with us and give us similar coverage and similar attention. So to all the media outlets that allowed you to follow us, we are also very grateful and sincerely appreciate the sacrifice and the effort. So may I now say very quickly that we'll have a very simple procedure. We'll have Mr. Mahama address you very shortly, and then in the aftermath we'll take some questions from all of you here. I believe that we'll be expecting the questions to actually stay with the conversations we've had over the last few days, and issues that maybe require some clarification, you can also reach out and ask him. So may I say that all of us are very grateful, and we thank God for this beautiful morning. Also, hopefully at the end of it, if there are any other reasons why we need to wrap up further, you can ask, and then we can give you all the clarification. So let's invite Mr. Mahama to please join us on the podium. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. I'll keep this brief so that we can have more time for the interaction and questions. First, let me thank the Almighty God for a successful completion of the Upper East campaign. We have done it smoothly, without any casualty, no incident, no accident, and we thank God for our lives and thank God for protecting us. Let me thank the Upper East region for the cooperation we've received, the encouragement, the support wherever we've gone. I also want to thank the media who came with us from Accra. You've left your families, you've been with us, you've seen the terrain, you've seen the issues, and then the local media, you are here with the people, and so you know what the issues are, and you also followed us around, and you took part in everything that we did. I want to thank the security forces, especially the Ghana Police Service, for the protection they gave us wherever we went. I want to thank the military for the protection they gave us when we were in the Boko area. I also want to thank our regional executives for a good job done. The organization was perfect. We started almost always on time, but we normally run beyond that time. We intended that we should be able to close early in the evening, but sometimes we had to run late. I want to thank all the chiefs and people who had patience to wait for us, even sometimes when we had run beyond the normal time. The issues are still the same. It's mainly a farming region, and that is the main preoccupation of the people, and issues of farmer support, access to modern mechanized farming, access to agricultural inputs, fertilizers, seeds, weedicides, pesticides, the common complaints that we hear. And we need to find a way where we can support the farmer in a seamless manner that is more sustainable than we've done in the past. Planting for Food and Jobs and other programs that we've had in the past have been a shot in the dark and really not sustainable programs. And that's why we think that the Farmer Service Center concept, where we register the farmers, get to know who the farmer is, know the acreage he's growing, know the crop he's growing, we know his family, we know what he's doing, and all that would help us to be able to target that farmer for specific support. And so if we set up the farmer service centers in the districts, all the farmers in the catchment area would have to register. And when they register, we'll go measure their farms, know what they are growing. We'll even know their whole households. We'll take a census of their households, how many dependents they have and all that. So it will be a kind of small microcredit scheme where they give them all the support at the beginning of the farming season, the fertilizers, the good seeds, the weedicide. If they need mechanization service, they'll offer it to them. If they need harvesting services, they'll offer it to them, combined harvesters and all that. And then at the end of the farming season, when they have harvested, they can sell their crops to the farmer service center at a minimum guaranteed price so that middlemen don't take advantage of them. And when they have sold, the cost of the inputs will be deducted and whatever profit they have will be paid on to them. There's a need for us to urgently introduce agro-processing because we're not adding any value to the crops that they're producing. And so creating agro-processing zones where we bring equipment, small equipment, using the private sector to buy the maize off them, produce corn grits, produce maize flour, and so on and so forth, produce cassava flour, process granules, process all the other crops that they produce, process their rice and package it nicely for the market. These are all things that would help to change the lives of our people here. Of course, the road network is a major issue, and everywhere when people are complaining about roads, our president says they built 12,000 kilometers of roads. Now 12,000 kilometers of roads is like flying from Accra to Japan non-stop. That's 12,000 kilometers. And if they had built 12,000 kilometers of roads, it should be obvious to everybody. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. The roads are in a bad state. And the worst thing is that the roads that were formerly in a fair condition, they have refused to maintain them for the last 8 years. And roads that I knew were good just 4 years ago have deteriorated so badly because there's no routine maintenance schedule for patching the potholes and all that. While you build new roads, you must be maintaining the existing road network so that it can serve for longer. If you take the Tamale to Bolga road, it's virtually falling to pieces. This road was built in President Rawlings' time, and it's like 16 to 20 years old, and there's no proper maintenance. It needs an asphalt overlay because of the heavy-duty trucks that use that road to connect to Burkina Faso. So these are the issues. Roads are a major issue. The next is education and healthcare. There's the need for more schools, more access to secondary education, more access to tertiary education. There are big gaps in terms of tertiary. For instance, if you start from Daboya all through the overseas area to Kobori, to Yagaba, to Yizesi, to Fumbisi, to Sandima, all the way to Navrongo. There's no tertiary institution in that whole area. If they want to access tertiary education, they either have to go to Wa or go to Tamale or come to Navrongo or to Bolga. So there's a big gap there. And so we need a tertiary educational institution there. And considering that the activity there is mostly agriculture, whatever tertiary institution we put there should focus on agriculture as an issue. The next most important thing is unemployment. Indeed, it's number one. There are teeming young people who have nothing to do. And it's a ticking time bomb for us. If we don't do something about youth unemployment, then I'm afraid we'll have some of what is happening in Kenya and Nigeria on our hands. And so that should be, youth unemployment should be declared a national emergency. And everything we must do to find something for these young people to do, we need to do. And so that's the next major issue. Other issues include women empowerment, building modern markets so that we can promote economic activity, so that trading of goods and services, can take place properly. So now that we've finished Upper East, our next region is Volta. And so Upper East has set a standard. Volta must start getting ready to be able to match up to what Upper East has done. I also have coming up as part of the Mahama Conversations a youth program in Bukum, and that is going to be a first of its kind, a youth town hall where I'll interact with young people and discuss their issues so that we can put their issues front and center before the nation. And so these are some of the things that are coming up. But all in all, it's been a successful 4 days. I want to thank Upper East again and thank everybody who has helped to make this campaign a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ben. So may I now take questions?
Media. My question to you this morning is, I want to know what steps will you take to reset the economy? You know, the economy is in shambles. So we are looking at the steps you want to use to reset the economy. The second question is that we are looking, how feasible is the free the 24-hour economy? Is this something that is doable? And the last one is a suggestion. You said you want to create for the people of Boku a new region. I want to suggest maybe why don't you create more districts? Since when you create new regions, you're going to spend much money on it. Since development is for the people, we are looking for more districts that will help instead of the regions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I said one question per, but of course we have others.
Right. Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Adongo Apubeo. I work with the Ghana News Agency. Mr. President, my first question has to do with roads. And I was very grateful when you talked about the roads throughout your tour. The Boga-Boku road was one of the major roads that you cut short for work to begin in Upper East region. But unfortunately, you couldn't finish it before you left office. The present government has done something on it, but he hasn't finished. First of all, are you prioritizing it when you come back? Secondly, if you look at the quality of work that has been done, I was in Kasua during the time you did the Kasua interchange, and then within the 4 years we were able to finish with the work, except some few things. And the quality of work that was done there, if you compare that to the road, the work that has been done on the Boga-Boku road, you see the difference. And I think we also deserve the same first-class road that was constructed there. I don't know, when you come to power, would you improve upon it and then continue? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. So may I now ask Mr. Mahama to please give you the responses. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Palugu has been on the drawing board for quite a while. When I was president, I was very familiar with the project. It's to serve three main purposes. The first purpose for which it was conceptualized is flood control. And so it was supposed to have a weir, and the water will be restricted. And during the season when it is raining and it is expected that the Bagri Dam will be opened, a lot of the water would be let go so that it lowers the water level, so that when the water from Bagri comes, it will not flood as extensively as it used to do. The second objective of Palugu was to irrigate a huge expanse of land, I think about 10,000 hectares of land, for agricultural purposes. And then the third, which is a byproduct of the dam, was to produce about 30 to 50 megawatts of power. And so it's a very important project, and I think that we didn't start it because we were not able to yet procure dedicated funding for it. Because for a project like that, when you start funding it, it must continue to its completion. And so when this new government came, they took it up, and in 2019 they cut short for it. But I noticed something. They said it was going to be funded from Government of Ghana budget. And I knew that that was going to be a problem. Because to have an almost $1 billion project funded from Government of Ghana budget, then you can be sure that it will face the hazards that every other project that depends on the consolidated fund faces. And that is exactly what happened. Of course, it made a lot of political capital for the president's party in cutting short for that project. But I mean, one knew that it was going to face very difficult challenges. Unfortunately, we have rather lost money because almost $12 million was paid for no work done. You go to the site, there's absolutely nothing there. And so somebody has caused financial loss to the state and must be held to account to come and answer what happened. But it's a project that is desirable. We intend to continue. We're not going to abandon it, but we're going to look for a source of dedicated funding for it so that we can push it from start to finish without the kind of hazards that projects like this face when they depend on the contingency, on the consolidated fund. Talking about resetting the economy, everybody knows what the issues of our economy are. It is the structure of our economy. We borrow and we spend. We live above our means. We run a budget deficit that we carry on every year continuously. But recently, a new phenomenon was added under this government, and that was overborrowing. The reason for the crisis in which we are is that this government overborrowed, spent more than it was earning, and in addition, our traditional sources of income, they mismanaged. And so you have a situation where you are spending more, you are borrowing more, and yet the hen that lays the golden eggs, you're killing it, and so the golden eggs are not coming. And so what happens is the cocoa sector has collapsed completely. Cocoa sector in syndication used to bring 2 billion fresh cedis into the economy every year. This year we hardly were able to borrow even 800 million. And so that is a traditional source that has held this economy since Gordon Gisberg's time. They have come and mismanaged it. Produce Buying Company has collapsed. They are selling their assets. Produce Buying Company bought 30% of the cocoa that we exported in 2016 when I was president. Today, they have bought zero, and the banks are selling their assets. The workers have not been paid for 10 months. And so while spending more and borrowing more, the traditional sources of income for this country have been destroyed. Aside from that, I worked very hard to bring on 2 new oil wells to increase our revenue and our volumes of oil and gas. The advantage is, if we get more gas, it helps us to bring the cost of electricity down because we don't need to use heavy fuel oil to fire our thermal plants. We use gas. Right now, we have a shortfall of about 25% gas, and so we have to fill it with crude oil. And you know what happens when the prices of crude oil go up, and our electricity tariffs also go up. This government, since they came for 8 years, have wasted everybody's time. There's been no major development in the oil and gas sector. Indeed, those who were even producing oil and gas, they've hounded some of them out. ENI had to evacuate all their expatriate staff to Cote d'Ivoire because of some litigation that was going on, which the president should have stepped in and resolved. He never did that. It went all the way to the International Court of Arbitration before a decision was taken. Now they're calling ENI to the table, calling the other partner to the table to discuss an issue that they should have done 3 years ago. And so there's been no addition in terms of oil and gas. We should have been getting more revenue from there. That one too is down. And so you have a situation like this when the government is overspending, overborrowing, and at the same time making less money. I mean, taking the wrongest decisions in the sectors that should be bringing in additional money. These are some of the issues that have happened. So I've signaled that we're going to declare an emergency in the cocoa sector to boost up production as soon as possible. We should be able to do that in 1 season or 2 seasons. We should be able to bring cocoa back by giving the farmers an attractive price, providing them with the inputs so that they can increase their production, so that we can export more cocoa, bringing new technology, grafting, small-scale irrigation schemes, so that when the weather is very dry, the farmers can use boreholes to water the cocoa to reduce the stress on the trees. These are all things that we'll do. We must get more from our extractive industry. So we're going to look at the whole mining sector and see how we can get more in terms of Ghanaians' participation in gold mining, in all the mining industry, in terms of getting more revenue from mining. That's an area we'll look at so that we can bring in additional money. We're going to get the oil and gas people to pump like crazy, because oil is in transition. If you don't pump all your assets now, electric cars are coming, the world is changing, there's going to be a reduction in reliance on crude oil, and so if you have those assets, you must be pumping and selling as fast as you can, you know, so that you don't have what they call stranded assets. Because if the world moves on and you have oil in the ground, nobody needs it, and so it will be stranded. So it's called stranded assets. And so you must do that too, so that you're able to invest that money in things that would earn dividends for your country. But indeed, in addition to all this, we must cut waste, because we're going to the IMF for $3 billion. And yet, every year, if you look at what we lose in terms of waste, in terms of inefficiency, we probably would not have needed to go to the IMF if we were able to plug these loopholes. Every year we talk about it, but nothing substantial is done. We're going to look at that in a more dramatic manner. But above all, what we're going through, the adversity we're going through, must teach us to depend on ourselves more. We must cut down our import bill. I mean, we're producing a lot of rice here in Fumbisi, and the farmers were complaining to me that they have stocks from last year that they've not been able to sell. How can we be importing this large amount of rice, and yet we have local rice that we have produced, and the farmers cannot sell it? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And so government must give the farmers a minimum guaranteed price, and government must put its money where its mouth is. We must provide the money to buy the rice off the farmers. We must process that rice and use it to feed our school children, use it to feed our hospitals, stop our schools and hospitals and other government institutions from buying imported rice. They must eat the local rice. And so that will give a market for the farmers to be able to continue to invest in their farms. We must provide them with processing facilities. The whole Fumbisi, there's a small rice mill somebody has set up. Government said they were setting up a rice mill. It is not functional yet. Whatever it is, I don't know. If we come, we'll look at it. But I think that there's the need for a bigger capacity. There's a big rice mill in Nyankpala, Avnash. And I don't know why there's not a connection with buying the paddy from here and processing it there. But these are all bottlenecks that the Ministry of Agriculture must look at and resolve. We need to add value for the farmers. And so if there's a processing plant here where they take their rice and the rice is processed and back packaged nicely, it adds value. The farmer will get more than just selling the paddy. The paddy, the market women and middlemen come and buy it for cheap. They take it to Accra, they process it and put it on the market, and they make the bigger margin than the farmer makes. But if we have a processing plant here that processes the rice for a fee for the farmer and adds value to his rice, then he can sell the rice at a higher value than he's doing currently. The 24-hour economy is achievable, and it's not a new thing. I didn't conceptualize it. It was in our 40-year development plan in 2016 that I launched, and many countries are implementing it. If we continue to work 8 hours a day, it will take us 30 years to come out of this financial crisis. We need to speed up. And that's why I give the example of the pharmaceutical sector, and that's just one sector. If we increase demand for our own health products, we should be able to double the workforce and increase the number of hours that the pharmaceutical sector works. And so for analgesics, that is painkillers, for antibiotics, for cough syrups, for ARVs and drugs like that, if we say we're going to buy our own local production first before we look at imported drugs, it will give our pharmaceutical companies more money. It will make them able to add on production lines. And then they will not need to work from 8 to 5. They will need to work from 8 to 12 or 8 to the following morning. And that will enable them to take on more people. And so if we increase the working hours, you cannot use the same number of employees to work those longer hours. You need to take on additional employees. And that means that more young people will get jobs. In one breath, they say, oh, but companies are doing it already. Then another breath, oh, we don't die of 24-hour economy, we don't understand it. How did you know companies are doing it already? You understand that companies are doing it already. But in the same breath, the same person will say, but we don't even understand it. You know, and there are some people who've made their minds that they don't want to understand it. And they say if a person is not asleep, you can't wake him up because he's not asleep. He's awake already. So how can you wake up a person who is already awake? So it's something we'll implement. The new projects that we'll bring in, if we have new rice processing plants that are processing the rice of the farmers, we'll let them work 24 hours a day so that they can employ more young people. My father had a rice processing plant. My father was a farmer. I used to work there on vacations. I used to work the night shift. I remember there was a night shift we used to work in. You work 1 week on day shift, and then the following week you go on night shift. And it used to happen like that. And so it's possible, and we would, not the other, it's possible. This is, it's possible, 24-hour economy. The Bokunaba put a request for a new region. I didn't say, when you asked the question, you said, I said I'll create a new region. I didn't say I'll create a new region. He put a request for a new region. And I told him that the criteria for new regions is 1, population size, 2, land size, and 3, economic viability. And I said that there's a process, a constitutional process for doing it. And so first they'll have to petition for a new region. I know the Member of Parliament for Boko Central has written to the Speaker, but that is not a petition. The petition must come from the persons in the, including the Member of Parliament, the chiefs and all that, to the President. And then the President has to set up a commission of inquiry. And the commission of inquiry will evaluate whether the area qualifies for a new region based on what I said, population size, on land size and economic viability. And when it has done that, the commission of inquiry would either say yes, it is possible to create a new region, or it will say no. And so it does not lie in my power to create a new region, and I never said I was going to create a new region. I was just showing the processes by which new regions are created. But what I said was, that area is comparable to some other areas. I mean, for instance, if you take the Savannah region or the Northeast or the Western North, their population might be almost equivalent to that. If you take economic viability, they are a commercial center because Boko is a trading area and all that. If you take land size, I don't know, I've never measured the land size of that area. But if you take the constituencies there, there are 6, the districts are 6, and maybe in other places they have the same number of districts. This was just something that I was saying comparatively. But all in all, it depends on the constitutional processes. After the Commission of Inquiry has recommended even yes, it must be subjected to a referendum in which not less than 40% of the people must vote and 75% of them must say yes. So it's a complicated process, and so let's correct the misconception. I didn't say when I became president I'm creating a new region. I'm saying that the Bokunaba requested a new region, and I was explaining the processes that has to be gone through. My information is that the Vice President went there and he said the same thing to him, and the Vice President said the same thing about the constitutional processes for creating a new region. The Boga-Boku-Polmakom Road, I cut the sword for it, and we started work on it. This government has continued the work, but the work has not been completed, mainly because of the debt restructuring. The financing that was being used for it has been affected by the debt restructuring. So currently the contractor has demobilized, and so some of the bridges are left undone, and there are many stretches of it that have also not been done. So we need to find new funding to be able to complete it. It's a very important road, and it carries a lot of traffic, and so it's a commitment that I made that when we come, we'll do everything in our power to continue and complete it. With regards to the quality, it is a double surface dressing road, and so it's bituminous, and so it's not the same as the Kaswa. Kaswa is an asphaltic concrete road. This is a double surface bituminous road. But it is always a first step to do a double surface bituminous road, and then later you can come and put an asphaltic concrete overlay on it, because you'd have done the sub base of the road already. And so at least we have a first step. Let's complete the road so that we can have traffic going to and fro. And when we have the financial wherewithal, we can come and put an asphaltic concrete layer over it so that it can last longer than it currently can. It's something we'll prioritize, and I think that's the third question. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, sir. And I recall that when you discussed the matter to do with the new region, you actually used the word consider. I recall that vividly. So yes, I think that he's giving you ample clarification. So can we have the next set of questions, please?
Good morning. My name is Atungo Idrisu Kasim. I work with Wimpang Radio and a reporter to TVXYZ in the region. My question is, Your Excellency, we can see that corruption has taken over the whole nation. If the good people of Ghana give you the opportunity to come back to power as a president of this nation, how are you going to fight this corruption in the country? Thank you.
Good morning, and my name is Emmanuel Okolok of Word FM, and thank you for this opportunity. His Excellency, during your visit to the Talisi district, the parliamentary candidate Daniel Don Mahama did mention that the Frafra speaking community have no training college, and for that matter, the next NDC government will establish a training college in Talisi, which will be called the Bonaboto Training College. I want to find out from you if backroom conversation has gone on for this particular training college, and what will be the purpose of the training college. And also, I want to make an appeal. And it has to do with farming. If you take a look at the Upper East region, most of us, we are farmers, and bringing like your service, farmer service center that you spoke about, for me, I would like you to add solar mechanized boreholes to it, which will be more closer to the farmers than the dams that we are digging everywhere, because this will improve the farmer to be able to have at least his own farm within his own backyard, whereby he will not need to travel to other places to farm. And besides, some of our farmers during the dry season farming, especially the dams side, some of them have to pay money to the landowners to be able to access the land to do the irrigational farming. But once they have a solar mechanized borehole which is closer to them, at least they can be able to do their farming in their own backyard. We all also know that if you take a look at the Upper East region, still on the farming issue, the government has introduced one village, one dam. I think it's helping, but to improve on it, we should have one village, 10 boreholes, mechanized boreholes with huge polytanks, which can help the farmers. And in that case, the agric extension officers can take in charge of that, and they can also contribute every monthly. They pay a quota so that district assemblies can also get something to be able to maintain the project. So I think this is what I want to add to it. If only Ghanaians give you the power, the nod to lead the country once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you very much.
My name is Vida Akurbiri. Radio Grune is a community radio station in Bulgaria. My question is, the young and the old are crying for hardship in the country. Do you think when you become the president of the Republic of Ghana, you'll be able to change the hardship? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, can we please have you? She said the third one is about hardship, please. Can you do something about the hardship? Yes, there's a lot of hardship. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me just take this very quickly. Hardship is the result of the economic crisis we're going through. We've seen the prices of goods and services increase astronomically. Normally when you have an inflationary spiral, its net effect and its impact on the people is hardship. And so as quickly as possible we must bring inflation down, because inflation reflects in the rate of increase of prices of products. So for instance, you find that today cement is 140 cedis. How much is it in Bulgaria? A bag of cement? 110. And in 2017, that same cement would have sold in Bulgaria at about 30 cedis. And so you're paying how many times more for a bag of cement than you used to pay some years back. And that reflects in terms of, it's a fallout of the economic crisis that we're in. So as quickly as possible, bringing inflation down to reduce the rate of growth of prices of goods and services must be a priority in order to bring down hardship. The other is to increase the incomes of the people so that they are making more money and they're able to look after themselves. And like I said, this is an agricultural area, so interventions that allow the farmers and people engaged in agriculture to be able to increase their incomes is something that we must look at. And that's where we're talking about. It leads to the next question: farmer service centers, support for farmers, minimum guaranteed prices, helping them to market their products, and so on and so forth. Those are all issues that we can do. There's also the issue of the Women's Development Bank, because women, if you empower women, it affects the whole society. The women reinvest their incomes in the family, in their children, and all that. And so if we give women small credit to be able to invest in their small and medium enterprises, be able to do their trading, sell their food, and so on and so forth, take care of their small agricultural backyard gardens and all that, it will increase the family incomes. And that would help to alleviate some of the hardship. And so those interventions are necessary, and those are the kinds of interventions that we intend to concentrate on when we come. With regards to solar mechanized boreholes, yes, it's possible. It's just a matter of looking at the comparative advantage in terms of cost. You cannot drill a solar borehole on every smallholder's farm. That's the problem, because the cost of doing one mechanized borehole will probably be far more than the output of the farm. So you need to get a bit of scale to be able to use that. I have a farm. I have drilled 5 boreholes, and I use the boreholes for irrigation. I have an onion farm. I do soybean. I do maize, and I have drilled at least 5 boreholes. But I'm talking about 300 acres, and the boreholes are yielding quite well. One of them is an aquifer, so I've not put a pump in the borehole, but the water just keeps coming by itself. And it's not everywhere you get a good yielding borehole. So you might drill somewhere and get nothing. You might drill somewhere and the quality of the water is not good enough. And so it's not like a final solution for agriculture. And that's why we try to put in irrigation dams. This government did not understand the concept of dry season gardening and irrigation dams. It's not a small dugouts that they do that can sustain dry season gardening. You must look at the topography of the area, do the dam, and make sure that the amount of irrigable land is enough to sustain dry season gardening. And that's why we started the Tamni Dam. Tamni Dam can irrigate about 3,000 acres. And so if every farmer has 5 acres and is growing onions and tomatoes and all that, it will reduce the amount of tomatoes and onions we have to import from Burkina Faso and Niger. We have the Via Dam. We got some money for it under GCAP. You know, this government did not apply it. Eventually, they went to Parliament and varied the use of the money and put it into planting for food and jobs. So the expansion that should have taken place in Via so that you could allocate more land to the young people to farm has not been done. We did the rehabilitation of Tono, but Tono is not being put to full use yet. If it's put to full use, it should be able to produce much more tomatoes and other products for the market. So we have the capacity to be able to expand. For instance, Lambousie had a dam that broke. I recently, from my own resources, went and rehabilitated that dam for them, and it can irrigate about another 600, 700 acres of land. And the young people in Lambousie can establish their farms and use the water for irrigation. The water is enough. Apart from that, they have started fishing and catching a lot of catfish in there. So these are the little interventions that we can do that can improve our people's lives. The lack of a tertiary educational institution in that area is not only Talensi. They're actually talking about the whole Bonaboto area. That includes Bongo, Nabdam, you know, and includes Tongo. So that whole area has no tertiary institution. That's why I was saying there are some blind spots when it comes to tertiary education. And so the children have to leave their communities and travel far if they have to go to College of Education or go to university or something like that. And so in future, what we'll do is we'll map out those blind spots, and then when we're establishing new colleges of education or institutions of higher learning, we will try to position them in those areas that do not yet have them, instead of just adding more to where they already have an abundance of higher educational institutions. Corruption is probably the highest in the Fourth Republic under this government. And I'm not saying it because I'm the opposition leader. Transparency International Corruption Perception Index shows that it is the highest this government has done. The perception of corruption is the highest. But you can't measure real corruption, you measure the perception. And so if it says the perception of corruption is highest, then it means that corruption has gone higher. But even just anecdotally, you can tell that there's not the will to crack down on corruption, because the president himself is the one who normally comes out first and shields people who are accused of corruption. And there are many cases where he's cleared them. And I was surprised. He said every single case of corruption in his government has been investigated and dealt with. I'm not sure whether he lives in the same country with us or he comes from Jupiter to come and visit us, you know. But certainly we know better. We know that that's not true. To be able to deal with corruption, I think that we should take away political interference. We should leave the anti-corruption institutions to do their work. This government is fighting the OSP. Indeed, they've made attempts to, they hounded the first one so much, Martin Amidou, that he had to resign. And the second one, they set up the OSP office, but they are the ones fighting with the OSP and, you know, trying to get him out. The OSP should be left to work, and I make that commitment when I come into office. The special prosecutor would have a free hand to do any investigations he wants. And it's not going to be, what we do is, it's easy when you come into office to investigate your predecessor government. They are your political opponents, so investigating them and prosecuting them, indeed you will enjoy doing it. But the real test of the fight against corruption is when it happens in your regime, that you're able to investigate and deal with it. And the only way to do it is to allow the anti-corruption institutions to have their way. And so I have sounded a warning that all those who are lobbying and wanting to come and serve in my government, you do so at your own risk. If you go and do something that brings you into the radar of IOCO or the OSP, I'm not going to come and defend you. You have to go and defend yourself. And if you are found culpable, it will be your business. And so I think that that's the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the clarification. So we'll take the very next 3 sets. I can see Mr. Agbagba with his hand right up there. Yes, so if you can please join them.
My name is Kwame Asante. I work with Unia TV, Unia FM. Your Excellency, please, I would like you to answer my question in 3 for me. 1, you mention of cooperative mining. Okay. Ose Oba introduce cooperative mining. Me pese yehu the cooperative mining no omobeya ebebo yensa se ye kwaye ene yensuo no ho ban a enkonko se titiu ene etifi epoye mantemu ha yenhyede ni nnua bebre ni ade ewo ha no the mining no mbeye na ensei ye environment no. And 2, se ohwe ahokeka emabu na ewo mantemu mu edihia wo ewo enafua enan a wo de kwa aprobo no mu a ahokeka wo mi ye pa me pese mihu eni daso ben ena wo ho ede masa emabu ya omode ahokekan ebehia we medase.
Thank you.
My name is Mark, A1 Radio Boga. Your Excellency, very recently, the Ghana Statistical Service conducted the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index. Now, if you look at that index, 43% of the people in the Upper East region are multidimensionally poor. Again, the level of intensity is 47.5%. This measures poverty across 4 dimensions and 13 indicators. Your Excellency, you were in Nabdam recently. That same report tells us that 6 out of 10 people in Nabdam are poor. Again, if you look at the national picture, about 7 districts out of the 15 in the Upper East region are bottom 15 of that MPI across the country. I'm just curious if you have a specific plan for the Upper East region beyond the national policies that you hope to implement. And just very quickly, Your Excellency, I'm just curious whether you are going to cancel again the teacher nursing trainee allowances or you are going to let it remain as is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Sadat Dabo. I work with GBC. Your Excellency, my question is, Galamsey is a major problem in Ghana. And for that matter, Upper East region and the Talented districts is becoming the mining hub of the nation. What is your vision for the mining sector in the country and Upper East region? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, sir, so we can have it.
Thank you very much. Nedika me the question now okasa min katrino meyano ansana mahwe neaka. Cooperative mining a concept a yedeba. I just say a yenhye foforo a yepese yedeba. I just say wo hwe bibia ye mining na yenka say Upper East region ha ye wo mining operations mienu a baako ewo eye Shanzi mining China for bi na ye mining ho ena foforo bi nso aba a friend cardinal mining na bibia me koye no emabunu no bebre ene ye Ghana for a echese omo wo ho no omo so omo pese omo ye mining ne kakra na omo timinya bibi etimi de hwe omo ho na etsan say big mining companies na fa concessions mienu no nya ye kan say baby so wo ho a eda ho a yenim say gold wo ho enti se eba ye be ma geological survey aye ho exploration ni a map ho out na emabunu ne enkrofo pese omoye sa mining no ye be kan mo abom in cooperatives enti on be register as a cooperative na ye de emabunu na omowie University of Mining and Technology ewo Takwa UMAT a omun wo ehunimdie yɛ de ɔmo bɛba bɛka cooperative no ho no ɔmo akyerɛ ɔmo sɛnea ɔmo bɛyɛ mine no abra obi empra abia obi enhwere ne kwa ɔmo yɛ mine no so yɛ ɔmo bɛkyerɛ ɔmo sɛna ɔmo bɛkata your friend land reclamation ɔmo bɛkata asase no ɔmo bɛsan piepia akatakata amra no na ɔmo san duadua ndua a ɛwɔ ho mfaso nti saa nneɛma no nyinaa yɛ abde a yɛbɛtumi ayɛ ɛno ɛna ɛyɛ the concept of cooperative mining na ɛnyɛ upper east region ha nkwa beebi a yɛyɛ mining biara yɛde saa concept no bɛma sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ a yɛmabunu no nso ɛbɛtumi anya adwuma ayɛ big mining companies ne say ɔmutumi gye wɔkɔ beebi a ɛkɔ yɛyɛ a company baako wɔ 60 kilometer square a ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɛnyɛ 60 kilometer square ne nyinaa ɛna ɔbɛ mine beebi wɔ hɔ a ɔhwɛ a gold no ɛnɔɔso dodo nti ɛhɔ nyɛ adeɛ a ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɛyɛ adeɛ a ɛnɛ ne ɛkyerɛ yɛ a ɔbɛkɔ akɔyɛ mining wɔ hɔ nti nyɛ ɛka ne sɛ yɛnhwɛ asase a big mining companies na agye beebi a ɛkyerɛ sɛ gold no ɛnhyɛ da nnɔɔso a ɔmɔni ɛnna so sɛ ɔmbɛkɔ akɔyɛ biribi wɔ hɔ yɛntumi ntwa hɔ kakra na yɛmabunu no yɛde ɔmo yɛ cooperative a ne yɛtwitwa ama ɔmo how many acres na ɔmo so ɔmo akɔtutu kakra ne ɔmo bɛnya no na ɔmo de ahwɛ ɔmo ho ɔmo wie nso a na ɔmo a yɛde ɔmo aka ɔmo ho a ɔmo wɔ mining ho nim deɛ ɔmo bɛkyerɛ ɔmo sɛnea yɛde bulldozer no bɛpiapia akatakata amena no na ɔmo anya forestry foɔ na ɔmo ama ɔmo nnua na ɔmo duadua egu so na ɛkyɛ sɛ asan abɛyɛ yie biom nti ɛno ɛyɛ adeɛ a ɛwɔ so yɛhwɛ wɔsɛ sɛnea ɛmamnu ɛbɔ gye me so abra meba upper east region no ɛyɛ adeɛ a m'ani gye yie na menim sɛ egyina sɛ ɔmo aba mu abu because ɔmo hwɛ a nsɛm a aban wei ɛka kyerɛ ɔmo Nana Akufo-Addo ɛne ne nua Bawumia nsɛm a ɔmo kan bɔhyɛ ɔmo hyɛ ɔmo ne adeade ne nyinaa ɔmo ntumi andi so nti ama ɛmabunu no aba mu abu ɔmo hu ɔmo daakye yie nti ɔmo pɛ nsensɛn mu ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo sesa nti beebi a mekɔ biara ɔmo bɔ gye me so na ɛyɛ adeɛ a na m'ani so yie na ɛno nso ɛhyɛ me nkuran sɛ meba ɛwɔ sɛ meyɛ adwumaden na mitimi ɛyɛ adeɛ a ɛbɛbie kwan ama ɔmo ma ɔmo nso ɔmo etimi anya adwuma ayɛ na ɔmo etimi ahwɛ ɔmo ho enti ɛno ɛna ɛsiye question ediso that one was in English. Multidimensional poverty. Multidimensional poverty has increased. You know, from the time of the beginning of the millennium, that is from President Rawlings into 2000, and then when President Kufuor came, we came up with what we call the Millennium Development Goals, and the target was to reduce poverty. And Ghana was one of the best performers in terms of poverty reduction. Unfortunately, over the last 8 years, we've seen an escalation. The World Bank has said that 800,000 people in the last 2 years or so have fallen below the poverty line. And people continue to become poorer, also exacerbated by the economic crisis. The capital of a lot of small and medium Ghanaian enterprises has been wiped out by the debt restructuring. People have lost money in the bonds. People's little savings that they put in provident funds, in other funds, you know, have been wiped out. Indeed, the savings of the Ghanaian middle class has been completely wiped out. And so it means that our indigenous capital has gone down. And this is the capital that is invested, that creates jobs, that creates incomes for Ghanaian families. And that is why we're seeing an expansion in poverty. So as quickly as possible, we need to rebuild indigenous capital. We need to give Ghanaians opportunities to be able to recoup their savings in places where we think we can do restitution. The president, I hear, gave the instruction that 50,000 bailouts should be paid. Some of these provident funds run into millions. And so you gave them a first 50,000 bailout, another 50,000, that's 100,000. You owe them, say, 10 million or 11 million. What is 100,000 to a group like that. And so we must take it more seriously. If government made a mistake and has to recompense these people, we must find the money to do so, so that they're able to get their capital back and be able to invest it. And that is the only way we can get our people out of poverty. You see, we must have specific programs for the poorest parts of this country. The problem with this government is they treat everybody the same. And so when they came, Coastal Development Authority, Middle Belt Development Authority, Northern Development Belt Authority, it's like, and you give money to all these authorities, and so you're not targeting where the pockets of poverty are. I think that in going forward, we must look at where the poorest parts of this country are and target our poverty alleviation measures to suit that. But even now, it's getting worse, because there's been a marked increase in multidimensionally poor people in Ashanti region. And you would have thought that, that would be a more economically buoyant thing. So it shows that the spread of poverty over the last 8 years is affecting even some of the regions that, we would have thought should be, more economically advanced. And so we need, one, to stabilize the economy, stabilize the currency, bring inflation under control. Government must cut expenditure, cut its coat according to its cloth, not overspend, more than it can, create more space for the private sector to be able to get credit, to invest, bring interest rates down. Those are the things that we must do immediately. Otherwise, if this crisis continues, more people will continue to sink below the poverty line. Teachers' allowances. What's the use of the reintroduction of teachers' allowances when you can't pay them? Nurses' allowances. Government owes, in some cases, 30 months. Some people have gone into school from first year to third year, completed, and never got an allowance. Government is pretending to pay the allowances for political expediency. And, well, we were substituting it with a student loan. The students were not happy. And indeed, let me even explain how we did it. We didn't cancel it at once. We said those who are enjoying the allowances will enjoy it till they complete. So the new ones who came had never had the allowance. We said we'll start you with the student's loan. So it's not like you had the allowance and we took it away. You had never ever been part of the allowance. And so we're phasing out those who were on the allowance and replacing them with those who are going to go on the student's loan. Jack Toronto and his younger brother said they can pay and they will pay. And that I'm a very wicked president to take, the allowance away. But that is it. They are not paying. They owe so many months of arrears. They can't pay NAPCO trainees. They made a lot of noise with NAPCO. You owe them, the children, about 10 months arrears you can't pay. And for the first time even, they can't pay national service allowances. National service allowances have never been in arrears, because we don't pay them anything substantial. It is just a stipend. And so every government before this government never ever had national service allowances in arrears. This is the first time this is happening. You said you could pay teacher trainee allowances. Please, I'm appealing on behalf of the trainees again, teachers and nurses, that you pay them their allowances. Even with regards to the teacher training allowances, what they've done is they've reduced the allowance and split it in half and giving the students 200 cedis, I think, and they're using 200 cedis for their feeding. In our time, we were feeding them free of charge. Government was buying their feeding, and then we're giving them the allowance. So even though they've said they are retaining the allowance, one, the allowance doesn't come. Two, when it comes, it's reduced, slashed by more than 50%, and half of it is used to feed them, and they're giving the remaining little. But all those allowances are in arrears, and I think that government should look at it. We will keep the status quo as it is, because for the nurses particularly, under the student loan scheme, they don't qualify. And so we need to make some amendments before we can put them on students' loan. So we'll keep the status quo, like I said, until we're able to make the necessary amendments to transition everybody onto a student's loan. And we're calling it the enhanced student loan because we need to increase the amount so that it's meaningful for the student to be able to do something with it. And as soon as the student gets a job, we must have a mechanism to start deducting it so that we can use it to support the next batch of students coming. The last question was almost the same as the first one on Galamsey, you know, and how we can deal with it. It's to make sure that we, the agencies that are supposed to enforce, you know, are able to do their work. I had said before, when I was president, when I pulled out the military, you know, that sending the military and chasing those boys is not going to solve it. We need a different, innovative means of solving it. And so we have made our proposals. In all the districts that there's mining, we're going to open offices of the Minerals Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency and all the agencies that deal with mining, so that we bring them closer to where the mining is taking place. And we're going to hold them responsible for enforcement of the mining bylaws. We're going to attach students from UMAT to all the small-scale mining companies so that they're able to supervise and show them what to do. They will pay a little bond. And so as they mine, they'll be putting some money aside. And that money will be given back to them when they have finished mining and they have, you know, repaired the area. If they haven't, then the money would be paid to some other person or company that will go and do the reclamation. And so that is one of the things. And then also involving the chiefs in enforcement in terms of environmental protection. I think that the time has come for us to give the chiefs some authority in terms of helping with environmental protection, in terms of sanitation, in terms of afforestation and things like that. We need to bring our chiefs in because they are the grassroots, they are with the people, and they have a certain influence. They are respected by their people, and so I think that they have some moral persuasion that if we bring to bear on what government is doing, it will give us better results than currently we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have the last three. We are actually running out of time for our next program, so if we can please be very quick.
Thank you very much. His Excellency, I want to let you know that the life of our elderly mothers in the north and specifically Upper East region is in danger. This is as a result of witchcraft accusations. Witchcraft accusations is becoming a trending norm as far as the Upper East region and other parts of the country is concerned. The bill that was passed by Parliament has not actually received any accent by the President. I would want to know, if given the opportunity, what would you do differently? Mr. President, development is something that is very dear in some of us, our hearts, as far as Upper East region is concerned. Mostly we hear from your appointees, especially the 14 MPs representing NDC in this particular region, that their mother is not in the kitchen. Mr. President, we want to know what you will do differently if given the norm when it comes to power as far as development of Upper East is concerned. Let me have it here, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Gilbert Mawuli Agbe, Upper East correspondent for Daily Graphic. Mr. Former President, I'm sure it has been brought to your attention the issue of skyrocketing poultry imports, particularly frozen chicken, which also poses health concerns for consumers. In the Upper East region, specifically in the Zebila area, there is an abundance of guinea fowl. The local community has repeatedly called for a processing factory to convert these birds into frozen food products. My question is, what viability do you see in creating a sustainable poultry industry around guinea fowls to reduce our reliance on imports? While I'm aware of past political initiatives related to this, I would like to know your stance on the potential for this industry to thrive. Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Nicholas Azebire, Dreams FM. Your Excellency, you were right when you said going around, the issues are largely the same. In the Upper East region, they have remained unchanged. This is your stronghold. The Upper East Regional Hospital has been one issue. We have the CK Tedam, that is a medical school. We do not have a tertiary facility, a teaching hospital. What will you do? And also the airport issue. And what will you do with the NDA? Thank you.
For the opportunity. My name is Jarvis Avoka. I work with ZFM in Zebila. Your Excellency, I was happy you touched on the Bolga-Boku road. However, another important road as far as this region is concerned is the completion of the Eastern Corridor Road. I think that it passes through Napanduri in the northeast, through Garu, through Misiga, and then to Kolugungu. All the literature I've read on that road, there's nothing that talks about this particular stretch I've just mentioned. I don't know, is it still in your plan that when you come to power in January, you focus on that particular road, and will this stretch be given attention? And then finally, Upper East, we know this is a region with close proximity to Burkina Faso and other neighboring countries. The troubles in those countries also affect us. We have had refugees running to Ghana. I don't know if your team is aware of the security challenges that this region is faced with due to the happenings in other countries, and what are your plans for dealing with this? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we have you take these ones very quickly so we can wrap up? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Whenever there's poverty and crisis, there's an increase in witchcraft. Because people don't tend to take responsibility for themselves. They must find somebody to blame for adversity. And so if they are not able to find opportunity, they are not able to satisfy their full potential, you know, there's crisis, there's hunger and all that, they must find somebody to blame. And normally they'll look for the most vulnerable person in the society, and these are the poor old women, and accuse them of witchcraft. And so it's a direct correlation to the increase in poverty, the increase in accusations of witchcraft. But look, let me tell you, there is no witchcraft. None of your mothers is responsible for your poverty. The old woman is looking after herself. She's also struggling like you. And then you come and say she is responsible for your poverty. No old lady is responsible for tying your womb and you can't have a child. You know, it is biological, it is medical. You know, you might have a restricted fallopian tube, you might have some internal condition that is preventing you from giving birth. Your mother didn't fly in the night and come into your stomach and tie your womb, or she didn't go and take it to a witches conference and they cooked it and ate it. I mean, these are superstitions that we must kill. These are cultures that we must kill and kill completely. I've not looked at the anti-witchcraft bill yet, but anything that will protect these old men and women from being accused of being wizards and witchcraft, I think that is something that we must look at. The president has not assented to it. I don't know for what reason, but I'll find out. But I mean, I have been drawn to the issue of witchcraft because of my wife. My wife's foundation, Lodina Foundation, is the one that has worked closely with the Gambaga witches camp, and she's done a lot of programs for them. She provides them with food, she provides them with cloth, you know, to sew clothes for themselves and all that. So through her work, I've become familiar with it. And one of the things they try to do with the Ministry of Gender and Children and Social Protection was to try and reintegrate these women back into their societies. And so they go and talk to the chief, they perform some rituals, they pacify the family, and then they're able to move the women back. I think that is something that we can continue. I know when we're in government, they closed one of the witches' camps because they were able to move the women and reintegrate them in their society. So I think that that's something we should do. But I'll look at this anti-witchcraft bill and see what the issues are for which the president, has refused to give his accent. You see, the point is, members of parliament are advocates for development. And so I think what they're trying to refer to is that they have more access to the corridors of power when their government is in place than when a different government is in place. That's all that they're trying to say. It's like, if my government is in place and I'm an MP from that particular party, I have more access to the ministers, and especially where the constitution says the majority of ministers should come from parliament, then it means that those ministers are their colleagues in parliament anyway. So they can make an appointment and go and see the minister and advocate for something for their constituency. So when they say their government is in opposition, all they're trying to say is that they don't have as much access as they should. But let me explain to you. The members of parliament are not the prime movers of development in the constituencies and the districts. It is rather the district chief executives. And development is not moving because this government has reduced the district assembly's common fund from 7.5% of total revenue that we were paying to 5%. And so it means that the districts are receiving less funds for their own development. And so if you ask the district chief executives in this government, they are really suffering. I really pity them. They are the most long-suffering district chief executives in the history of the Fourth Republic. Because everybody is blaming them for not drilling a borehole here, for not building a school there, but they don't have the funds because their government is not giving them the funds. They've reduced the funds, and apart from that, they are not releasing the district assembly's common fund. Even the share of the MPs, which is a small percentage of it, it's only when the MPs put pressure in parliament and tell the finance minister they won't approve something for him, then they'll release the share of the MPs. Meanwhile, the one that goes to the district itself is in arrears for so many quarters. And so you can't blame the district chief executives. They just don't have the funds to be able to do it. So I said, when we come, we're going to work to increase the share of the districts back to 7.5%, because the constitution says between 5 and 8%. It should be between 5 and 8%. We went as high as 7.5%. This government has come down to 5%. And apart from that, they siphon off some of the money to the development associations. And so it doesn't impact the district, because the development associations, I say development authorities, they sit somewhere in their office, then they say, go and build a school in Zebila. Instead of, if it was in the district chief executive will identify a local contractor in Zebila to do it. And so the money stays in Zebila. But the development authorities will take a contractor from, say, Bolga or from Tamale and award him the contract to go and do in Zebila. And so when he goes and does it, the profit does not stay in Zebila, the profit goes elsewhere. And that is the effect the development authorities are having. So I'm saying that if you have money for the development authorities, give it to the districts. Share it to the district and increase the share of revenue they have, so that they can invest in their own districts and be able to multiply the revenue in the district. I've been an MP before, and I remember when I was an MP, anytime the district assembly's common fund is released, Bole Bambo is buoyant. The slaughterhouse, they kill a cow, people are buying meat because they pay the contractors, the local contractors. and the local contractors to, you know, put money into the system. The hairdressers, the local contractor's wife will go and do her hair, the hairdresser to get some money. He goes and pays the filling station for the fuel he credited, the filling station attendant to get some money. He goes to the beer bar with his friends, the beer bar person to get money. He goes and pays the cement that he borrowed for the contract, cement person to get money. So it has a multiplier effect in the economy of the district. Unfortunately, that has dried up because there are the district assembly's common fund is not coming, and it is less than it used to be. And so these are the issues that we need to look at. Poultry imports. Poultry imports have increased. We're spending more on frozen chicken from outside. And that is because their own people are involved in importing the poultry. Recently, one of their biggest financiers passed away. She's the biggest importer of poultry in Ghana, member of Council of State. And so you can be sure that this government is not interested in restricting poultry imports. Also, because of the financial crisis, the cost of inputs in Ghana has gone up. So the cost of feed is high. The cost of all the things that they use to grow the poultry is up. And so our farmers are struggling, and it makes it easier to bring this frozen poultry in. And most of the time, the tariffs are high, but they are able to escape the duties. So they are able to bring the poultry in at lower than our own poultry producers can produce. So most of the major poultry farms are shutting down. Akati Farms was one of the biggest poultry farms. The last time I heard, they are struggling. I mean, I don't know if they've shut down, but they're almost shutting down. We need to reverse that situation. We need to reverse that situation. And so we already have had an engagement with the Poultry Farmers Association. We know what the issues are. And when we come, we'll do everything to try and support them. This was one of the SADA projects, and it was supposed to create an incubator for guinea fowls. And so the incubation plant was built, the incubators were put there, and they were going to incubate the eggs and raise day-old guinea fowl chicks. Distribution to households, 100 chicks, and you will be giving the poultry house and shown how to raise the guinea fowls. And then there was supposed to be a processing plant so that the guinea fowls will be bought off the households and processed, and they will put them in frozen trucks to send them down to the south to market. Unfortunately, the project ran into issues. The media criticized it, and they came and said the guinea fowls had flown to Burkina Faso. No guinea fowls flew to Burkina Faso. Guinea fowls are not migratory birds. And the project was not for you to come and see thousands of guinea fowls in one place. It was supposed to incubate the eggs and give the guinea fowl day-old chicks to the farmers. And so somebody came and asked, he says he asked the watchman, where are the guinea fowls? And then the watchman said, oh, they go Burkina Faso, they go come rainy season, they go come back. And then it took a life of its own. The media went and published it. And up to now, there are people who believe that there were some guinea fowls that flew to Burkina Faso, you know. So that project died. But I think it's a project we can look at again, because people find guinea fowl meat more healthy. And if you go to the south, they have roasted guinea fowl that people are consuming. And I do think that if we're able to increase guinea fowl production, it would help the incomes of a lot of families. When we drive along the Zebila Road, you see vehicles parked, and the guinea fowl is, grilled, and they buy it and chop it up. And it makes a healthy meal. And so it's something that we're prepared to look at. The Upper East Regional Hospital, it's not been completed. We did phase 1. I finished phase 1, and then we got the funding for phase 2. It continued under this government, part of phase 2. The phase 2 is not completed, but the phase 3 is in danger because it was supposed to be a facility from Saudi Arabia, the Saudi fund. And since the debt restructuring, one is not sure whether the funding will continue or not. So we need to come and take a look and see how we can work to finish it. If we finish it, I think that it can be used temporarily for the students who are doing medical training, and Tamale is not far. If they need some additional practicals, they can move them to Tamale and bring them back until eventually we get a proper teaching hospital here in the Upper East. It happened with UDS when the Tamale Regional Hospital was not yet a teaching hospital. The students used to be sent to Kumasi for some of the practicals and brought back to Tamale until the Tamale Teaching Hospital was upgraded. Tamale Regional Hospital was upgraded into a teaching hospital, and then now UDS does their practicals in the Tamale Teaching Hospital. So first, let's finish the regional hospital, and then they can do some of the practicals there, but the rest they can go to Tamale, and then eventually when we upgrade Bolga Hospital into a teaching hospital, then the training can continue. We're going to look at all the development authorities again. I don't think that they've achieved the reason for which they were the Coastal Development Authority, Middle Belt, and all that. We're going to look at it again. And like I said, rather than just do blanket development authorities, we must do better targeting of the areas of poverty. What that structure will be, I don't know yet, but it's something that I think we should look at. Eastern Corridor, we're dedicated to finishing it. It was the concept of Professor John Evans Atta Mills. Because of the food production in the Northeastern Corridor, he thought that if we did the Eastern Corridor road, it will help to evacuate a lot of the agricultural products faster to the south. And that should reduce the price, because then the transporters would reduce the fares for which they are transporting. We've done segments of it. I did the segment from Gushegu to Otidamanko. That one is done. It's in good condition. Actually, we got to a point, this government continued with it because we had funding from Brazil for it. The missing link is from Gushegu, Nakpanduri, through Misiga, Garu to Kulungungu. And that is a priority. We should be able to do it. And if we do it, it will help to open up the Eastern Corridor. There are some portions like from Damanko to Nkwanta, and then we did the stretch from Nkwanta to Dodipepesu, and then there's a stretch from Jasikan to Hohoi. Part of it has been done by Rolida, but there's a missing link just before you get to Hohoi. We need to do that. Then after you leave Hohoi, Have, all the way through Peki, there's another missing link there. And so we need to finish that to open up that corridor. So it's a priority. But I also talked about the Northern Ring, and that is, you should be able to leave Bolga and go to Tumu and to Wa. That is a missing link. That road is not complete. And then from Wa, you go from Wa to Sola. The Wa-Sola road is bitumen, but it's not been maintained, so it's in a poor state, and so we need to do that. Then you can go from Sola to Damango. That is part of the Sola Fofoso road. That was done. It's fairly good. Damango to Fofoso Junction is good. Then Fofoso Junction back to Tamale, you turn left. It's good, perfect road. Then from Tamale to Yendi, this government has
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, at the heart of the thriving phenomenon of corruption is the issue of dubious and overpriced sole-sourced contracts, which has become a norm under the corrupt Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. This canker of overpriced sole-sourced contracts is causing the nation to lose billions of cedis, which could have been invested in productive ventures to create opportunities and prosperity for all Ghanaians. This is a sad situation our dear nation presently finds herself. While in opposition, both President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia, the New Patriotic Party's presidential candidate for the 2024 general elections, condemned the use of sole sourcing in government procurement. They labeled it as corrupt and vowed never to use it. Ghanaians still recall President Akufo-Addo's now infamous and dishonest declaration on 23rd August 2016 that, quote, the era of sole sourcing will come to an end, unquote, under his presidency. Alhaji Bawumia on his part accused President Mahama in the NDC of overpricing contracts using sole sourcing. In fact, Alhaji Bawumia had this to say on his Twitter handle on 8th of September 2016, quote, overpricing of contracts through the use of sole sourcing is very typical of this John Mahama NDC government. Upon coming into office in 2017, ladies and gentlemen, this same Alhaji Bawumia was reported by online news portal Ghana Web to have said that his government, quote, will abort rampant sole sourcing, unquote. Also on the 29th of May 2017, Alhaji Bawumia was again cited by starfm.com GH to have admonished appointees of his government not to abuse sole sourcing. Subsequently, on 31st December 2018, while touting so-called 40 fulfilled promises of his government, Alhaji Bawumia had this to say, quote, we promised to move away from a predominance of sole sourcing to tendering in procurement, and we have delivered, unquote. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give you, as we often do during these moments of truth encounters, evidence to buttress all these statements I have made so that you know what exactly candidate Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia said about sole sourcing while in opposition. They were terribly wrong when they suggested that sole sourcing simplicity means corruption. We disagree with that position because it is not borne out by the law. The truth of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is that the law allows for sole sourcing, but it only allows for sole sourcing in government procurement as an exception and not the general rule. So if you look at the Public Procurement Act, specifically Section 40, after competitive tendering is laid out as the general rule for all government or public procurement, an exception is provided for under Section 40, which basically stipulates that where government needs to procure a particular good or product or undertake a project, and that goods or product is only available, or you have only one entity that has exclusive rights over the said goods or products, then you can use sole sourcing. Or in cases of urgency as a result of a catastrophe, urgency as a result of unforeseeable circumstances, and other conditions, the law allows you to engage in sole sourcing. Aside that, the law is clear that if government wants to undertake any project, whether it is the construction of a road, a school, a hospital, any project, or even the supply of goods, products, services, government must open it up and do it in a transparent, competitive way, where any willing person or entity can bid, and the person with the best bid is adjudged the winner, and the contract awarded to that person. That is supposed to be the general rule, and sole sourcing the exception. However, in opposition, as you can see on the screen, this is what Dr. Bawumia said on his Twitter handle on the 8th of September 2016. And everybody must be interested in this, whether you are NDC or MPP or CPP. This man is vying for the presidency once again. He's going about making a lot of promises. But you see, as for promises, anybody can promise you anything for power. The most important thing is whether or not you can trust them, whether or not they have a proven track record of delivery when it comes to their promises. And so this is Bawumia on 8th September 2016, around a time like this when we were preparing for the election. And this is what he had to say. He said, overpricing of contracts through the use of sole sourcing is very typical of this John Mahama NDC government. So to Bawumia, anytime you hear of sole sourcing, it means a contract has been overpriced. Then, on the 3rd of February 2017, this is when they had been elected already. This is what they had to say. We will abort rampant sole sourcing, Bawumia. And the details are in the story. You will even recall that this government set up a whole ministry for procurement because they said they wanted to put an end to sole sourcing. That was the ministry headed by Adjoa Safo, who abandoned her post for close to 2 years. I'm sure you recall. Next. This is Dr. Bawumia on 29 May 2017, telling appointees, MPP appointees, that, quote, don't abuse sole sourcing. Bawumia to appointees. Next. There are more. Yes, and if you look at this City Newsroom story, which is dated 31st December 2018, the headline is Bawumia touts MPP's 40 fulfilled promises. Now let's go to the next slide. You will see what it says. So as part of the 40 promises, which Bawumia claimed at the time in 2018 that they had fulfilled, this was part of the 40. We promised to move away from a predominance of sole sourcing to tendering in procurement, and we have delivered. That is the evidence for you. Next. This is Akufo-Addo in opposition, August 23, 2016. He did not even produce a reduction in the rate of sole sourcing. He was categorical. And you can see that for yourself. The era of sole sourcing will come to an end. So these are the promises they gave on the basis of which the Ghanaian people voted for them. Now, friends from the media, as it is often said, time reveals the true intentions of a man. Time has once again exposed the dishonesty and duplicity of Alhaji Bawumia, the chronic liar. And we shall demonstrate this to you with incontrovertible evidence. We shall demonstrate to you today, ladies and gentlemen, how Bawumia never meant a single thing he said against sole sourcing while in opposition, and how he and his family have become the biggest beneficiaries of dubious and overpriced sole source contracts under this corrupt, nation-wrecking NPP government. It will interest you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that contrary to his holier-than-thou rhetorics on the subject of sole sourcing in government procurement while in opposition, Bawumia today is the biggest promoter and beneficiary of sole sourcing. As we speak, sole sourcing has become the norm and the most preferred method of procurement for several dubious contracts awarded to relatives and cronies of the Vice President Alhaji Bawumia. A number of sleazy and overpriced sole source contracts have been awarded to a company called Resource Assets Limited, a company owned and run by Bawumia's blood brother called Abraham Bawumia and his wife Kaminska Bawumia. Now, many may be hearing the name of this entity for the first time, so let me repeat it for emphasis. The name of the company is Resource Assets Limited, and it is owned by Bawumia's direct brother called Abraham Bawumia and his wife. So it is owned by the Bawumias. Now, we have here and we'll share with you the Registrar General's document on this company, the incorporation documentation of this company. My brother, if you can show us that document. No, so if you look at this family picture, okay, this is the nuclear family of Bawumia. Abraham Bawumia is the one in the blue polo Lacoste shirt, standing just behind Bawumia. That is Abraham Bawumia. And he owns Resource Access Limited with his wife Kaminska Bawumia. Now next, let's go to the next document. So these are the incorporation documents of the company. And you can look at the directors, Abraham Bawumia, Aneta Kaminska Bawumia. So it's a family company, husband and wife. You can go to the next slide. They are the directors. They are also the subscribers, the shareholders. And that is, the shareholder is Abraham Bawumia, and he owns all the shares, 100,000 Ghana cedis. So what we are telling you is 100% factual, and you can check that for yourself. Now, first on the list of sleazy, dubious, overpriced contracts awarded to this company is a contract awarded for phase 1 of the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Airport project at a cost of a whopping 52.25 million Ghana cedis. For emphasis, ladies and gentlemen, this juicy contract was doled out to Bawumia's brother through sole sourcing in the year 2019 without any transparent or competitive process. When one compares the cost of the mundane works that have been carried out at the Sunyani Airport by Bawumia's brother's company to the brand new ultra-modern airports built by the nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in the city of O, it becomes clear that indeed Ghanaians have been shortchanged by Alhaji Bawumia and his brother. Ladies and gentlemen, the brand new Ho Airport was built at a cost of $25 million. At the prevailing exchange rate, approximately 100 million cedis. Brand new airports. This airport boasts of a brand new 1,900 meters long and 30 meters wide runway. A new ultra-modern terminal with VIP and VVIP facility that can process about 400 passengers a day. A brand new apron for 2 aircrafts and 9-kilometer networks of new roads around the airport. That is what President Mahama did with our money in building that ultra-modern, brand new Ho Airport from scratch. On the other hand, after spending a colossal 52.25 million cedis, that is about half the cost of the brand new Ho airports, the rehabilitated Sunyani Airport can only boast of a refurbished 120 meters long and 30 meters wide runway. Minimal renovation of the existing terminal building to process just 100 passengers per hour. Upgrade, that is a patching of potholes of the existing apron and resurfacing of internal roads. Now at this stage, I want to show you so that you appreciate what we are talking about. Because you see, this is a man who in opposition said sole sourcing was evil and promised to move away from a predominance on sole sourcing. He comes into office after all the things they said against President Mahama and the promise they made, we will not run family and friends government. And when we were in office, it was even a crime for President Mahama's brother, Ibrahim Mahama, a well-established and accomplished businessman, not only in Ghana but in Africa, to offer to desilt the Odo River for free at no cost to the states. That was a big problem for them. It was family and friends. Today he comes and he gives the Sunyani Airport project to his brother. No problem. We are not saying his brother cannot do business. But why will you award such a project through sole sourcing, which you said in opposition leads to the overpricing of contracts? Why won't you open it up and award it through competitive tendering so that anybody can bid for it? And why will you award such a project at at a cost of 52 million cedis. And for those who know Sunyani Airport, I was raised in Sunyani, so I know Sunyani Airport. I know there are many of you here who know the Sunyani Airport. Tell me if the works there should cost the state 52.25 million cedis. That is 525 billion old Ghana cedis. And I'm going to show you pictures of what Bawomia's brother has done there for that money. So this is phase 1 of the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Airport project, awarded to Bawomia's brother. This is the sword cutting ceremony. You can see the story. We picked it from the website of the Bono Regional Coordinating Council. It says, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo commissions phase 1 of rehabilitation Sunyani Airport. The story was published on 4th August 2022. It's a government publication. Now, the relevant portion of the story, which will let you know that the project was executed by Bawomia's brothers company, reads, intimated that in line with his government's policy to provide a functional structure to enhance development of the nation's middle belt and strengthen the growth of agriculture, general business and industrial transformation, a contract was awarded to Mrs. Resource Access Limited. This is the company we've shown you. It's incorporation documents to commence the rehabilitation of the airports in 2019. He said the scope of work included the rehabilitation, not the construction, the rehabilitation and extension of the runway from 1,280 meters to 1,400 meters. Do the deduction. 120 meters. Repair of the apron. Repair, it means it was there already. You can't repair something which didn't exist. So repair of the apron to accommodate small to medium size aircraft. Then they themselves say minimal renovation of the terminal building and construction of internal roads. Minimal renovation. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the Sunyani Airport project. To know the cost, all these publications are coming from government sources. So this is a publication by the Ghana Airports Company. And if you read about the Sunyani Airport project, look at the highlighted portions. It says the Ghana Airport Company Limited commenced rehabilitation works at the cost of 52.25 million Ghana cedis on October 25, 2019. I'm not saying it, they are saying it. Next. This is the brand new airport John Mahama built. This is just the back of the terminal. Next. At $25 million. Next. So John Mahama's airport had a runway of 1,900 meters and 30 meters wide. The Sunyani Airport, rehabilitated by Bawomia's brother, 120 meters runway, 30 meters wide. The John Mahama brand new airport in Who had an ultra-modern terminal. They only did minimal renovation on the existing terminal. And I'll show you the picture. It can process 100 passengers per hour. The whole airport terminal can process, if it is put to good use and not abandoned like they have done, 400 passengers a day. Then the whole airport had a brand new apron for 2 aircrafts. The Sunyani Airport has an upgraded, they just upgraded, meaning that the apron was there. An apron is basically where planes are parked. So they just patch the potholes, dress the place. Then the whole airport included 9-kilometer networks of new roads. They only resurfaced a few existing roads in the enclave. And President Mahama spent approximately $25 million, equivalent to 100 million cedis, on this brand new airport. And they have spent 52.25 million cedis on the Sunyani Airport. Now, let's see the Sunyani Airport. Okay, so on your right is the Sunyani Airport. This is the renovated, it is not the old, the renovated terminal building. This is the car park. This is the frontage of the terminal when you go there today, not after the project. This is it. Go forward. Do we have more? Go forward. Finish. Okay. We will show you more pictures. But anybody, go there with your cameras. Check the runway. Check the apron. Check the terminal building. They don't even have a VIP, facility. Check. And they tell you Bawumia's brother did this at 52.25 million. And our question is, why did you award the project to Bawumia's source? The sole source that you said you said you will abolish and told us in 2018 that indeed you have fulfilled that promise. That is the issue here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, apart from the overpriced Sunyani Airport Phase 1 rehabilitation projects, 2 GUC Cocoa Road projects were also awarded to Bawumia's Brothers Company, Resource Access Limited, through sourcing at an inflated cumulative cost of 83 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 830 billion old Ghana cedis in the year 2020. The said Cocoa Road projects are upgrading of Asenya Kropong to Odomase Esibrim 22.18 kilometers road at a contract value of 54,263,708 cedis. Upgrading of Chiboso Hasowodre Bangalore Feeder Road 14.5 kilometers at a contract value of 29.4 million Ghana cedis. All these juicy Cocoa Road projects are awarded to one company, Bawumia's Brothers and the Brothers' Wife Company, through sole sourcing. Now, the evidence will be projected on the screen. So these are the projects. Upgrade of pardon that typo, the Akropo Odomasia Sibrim Road, and the other one, that's a difficult word to pronounce. That one too is there. Can we see the next one? Good. Now, somebody will say, how to know that these projects were even awarded to Bawumia's Brothers Company? And where is your proof that the projects were awarded to Bawumia's brother and his brother's wife through sole sourcing? The proof is what you see on the screen. A letter dated 14th May 2020, I believe. 2020. 14th May 2020. And the title is Rehabilitation, Upgrading, Reconstruction of Roads in Cocoa Growing Areas. Cocoa Roads Improvement Program, CREP 2. Request for approval for single sourcing procurements. So this is a letter from Cocoa Board to the PPA requesting for approval to award these projects to the companies indicated through sole sourcing. Can we see the next slide? Good. So zoom this one out so that it becomes clear. So it's the same document. Number 7, number 8 on the list are the road projects I have referred to. And you can see the company awarded to Resource Access Limited. The first one is at a contract value of 54.2 million cedis, a little over that, and 29.4 million cedis. So these are official documents. We got that thanks to the Son of Man, the Member of Parliament for the good people of North Tongue, who gave us these documents intercepted from the PPA. So you can see that for yourself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if they just gave Bawumia's brother Cocoa Road projects do as a company, is that number one, all these projects being awarded to that company are being awarded to them through sole sourcing. Bear in mind what Bawumia said about sole sourcing. But what is even more worrying, for which reason we've called this press conference, is that the projects they are awarding to Bawumia's companies were not only awarded through sole sourcing, but the projects are inflated and have occasioned the state huge financial losses. And I'm not the one saying it. The Auditor General has found that these single source Cocoa Road projects were overpriced and awarded in breach of the public procurement law, thus causing the nation huge financial losses. Indeed, paragraph 65 of a performance audit report by the Auditor General on the construction of Cocoa Roads revealed that Cocoa Board, and I'm quoting the Auditor General, Cocoa Board did not rigorously analyze its procurement options for value for money, but sought approval from PPA for single sourcing and restricted tendering, thus procuring contracts which were up to 3 times more expensive than they could have obtained through competitive tendering, unquote. This is scandalous. This is serious. That road projects will be awarded through sole sourcing at inflated prices, causing the state to lose money. And one of the main companies at the heart of these dubious overpriced sole source contracts is Bawomia's brother company, and a company owned by the brother of Bawumia and the wife of the brother of Bawumia, the man who in opposition saw everything evil with sole sourcing. Somebody will say, where's your evidence? The evidence is what you see on the screen. This is a cover page of the performance audit report of the Auditor General on the construction of Cocoa Roads in general. At paragraph 58 of the report, you can Google it. You can Google it. Performance reports by the Auditor General on Cocoa Roads. You'll see it. Paragraph 58. This is what the Auditor General said, not Masemtvgh or the NDC. Cocoa Board awarded 266 road contracts from CRIP 2. That is CRIP 2 is Cocoa Roads Improvement Program 2, measuring a total length of 4,131 kilometers for rehabilitation, upgrading, and construction in cocoa growing areas. Out of the 266 contracts awarded, 33 were through competitive bidding. 175 were through single source procurements, and 58 through restrictive tendering. These are the people who said that they will move away. Akufo-Addo said the era of sole sourcing will end. But Bawumia said we will move away from it. This is their scorecard. This is their terminal results. This is the Auditor General marking them. No, go back. Go back. Go back. Marking them that 87% of the Cocoa Road Improvement Program 2 road contracts were not procured through open competitive routes. And you see, once it's not being done competitively but secretly, just for a few companies, it means that the state is not getting value for money. A project that could have cost us 1 cedi will cost us 10 cedis because there is no transparent competitive process for the best bidder to win. That's what it means. Next page. So if you look at paragraph 60, the Auditor General says, although the use of restricted tendering and sole sourcing saved Cocoa Board the time it would have taken to evaluate a large number of tenderers, our analysis showed that these methods cost Cocoa Board about 100% more than the use of national competitive tendering in terms of cost per kilometer of road. From table 5, we deduce that roads procured under NCT's national competitive tendering were 1.5 to 3 times cheaper than what Cocoa Board got for roads procured using single source or restricted tendering. You can't say you love Ghana and not be sad about this. This is what the Auditor General is saying. Now let's go to the next page. We don't have time to read everything. The relevant portions. The conclusion of the Auditor General, the paragraph 65 I earlier on alluded to. It says Cocoa Board did not rigorously analyze its procurement options for value for money, but sought approval from the Public Procurement Authority for single sourcing and restricted tendering, thus procuring contracts which were up to 3 times more expensive than they could have obtained through competitive tendering. And who are the beneficiaries of these companies? One of the main beneficiaries. From our check, they didn't get one. Every company had one. They had two. Because that is Bawumia's brother's company. Imagine that President Mahama was the one who was president. And any of his brothers who are businessmen were given such juicy projects through sole sourcing. And the Auditor General issued a damning report showing that the projects were overpriced. 3 times the price that the state should have paid. 3 times. These 2 projects alone cost 83 million. So if the Auditor General is telling you that the price has been inflated 3 times, do the math and look at the monies we could have saved. Close to 60 million on those projects. The monies that have gone to Bawumia and his brothers. 60 million is on OCs. Imagine the jobs he could have created for young people. The contractors he could have paid. The good he could have done to help the people of this country. So that is the evidence right there. But friends from the media, the inflated so-called sweetheart contracts awarded to Bawumia and his brothers are not just in the area of cocoa rows. We have also intercepted payment vouchers which show that between March 3rd, 2023 and March 5th, 2024, Resources Assets Limited, owned by the Bawumias, were paid a staggering 83,036,639 cedis by the Kufuor Bawumia MPP government for the award of 2 single-source road projects. These contracts are the rehabilitation of selected roads in Teshi Camp, Greater Accra people. Rehabilitation of selected roads in Teshi Camp, Southern Command Military Academy Training School roads, 23.45 kilometers. Yes, and 55,000 meters square. Then partial reconstruction of selected roads in Accra, Lot 1, 44.49 kilometers. Construction of Sunyani Bypass, outer ring from Kumasi, Brekum Road. All these projects, forget about the airport projects, forget about the Cocoa Road projects. All these other road projects awarded to Bawumia's brother company. All to sole sourcing. That is the common feature, the common characteristic of all the projects. And maybe I should show you the vouchers. Quickly, just run us through the vouchers, the gentleman controlling the screen, so that people will see the payments. At the time, contractors are owed billions of cedis and they are complaining that they are not being paid. In 1 year, look at the monies that were paid to this company alone because of who owns it and its relationship with Bawumia. If you look at the payments, you can see there. So this is a payment voucher of 16.4 million cedis. 16.4 million. Hold on, let me pick the date. 16.4 million cedis for just this one. Can we go to the next one? 3rd March. Oh, no, go back. 3rd March 2024. Where is that one? That is the first one. Good. 3rd March 2024. So it's fresh. 2023. Okay. So next. Zoom this one too for us. Good. So this is another 10 million. So the first was 16.4 million. Then another 10 million. And the date is what? 25th March 2024. Thank you. Next. One company. All sole source contracts. And as for them, they get paid like water. You know. Because somebody needs the money to finance his campaign. So this is another 5 million Ghana cedis paid 25th July 2023, all in 2023. There are people who have done works for this government for 10 years, they have not paid them. 8 years, they have not paid them. 5 years, they have not paid them. Look at one company. The contractors should watch. One company, 1 year. Look at the payments. All sole source contracts, overpriced, highly inflated. Let's go. There are more. Quickly. Is that the last one? Is that the last one? Okay. So there are a lot of these that we can share with you, and you can verify that yourselves. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the media, just as we have spoken about today, awarded to Bawomia's Brothers Company, amount with colossal 280 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 2.18 trillion old Ghana cedis. Just the 5 projects we have spoken about today, there are more. So we are just talking about these 5. We will invite you again to talk about the rest, which will shock you and outrage you. But the serious question we must all ask ourselves is the huge savings the states would have made if these projects had at least been awarded through competitive tendering, as promised by Bawumia, Akufo-Addo and the NPP while in opposition. Nobody is saying, even though you campaign against the award of contracts to relatives of a former president who were even just helping the states doing things for free, you are awarding juicy contracts to your brothers and your brother's wife. And all the contracts are being awarded through sole sourcing, as we have demonstrated to you. And all the contracts are inflated. And you pay them with alacrity, when many contractors who got their jobs through competitive tendering have executed their jobs, are sitting home for years. They are not being paid. Some are getting stroke. Some are dying. They are not being paid. Interest on the loans they have taken is killing them, and they are not being paid. And one company getting all these juicy, overpriced contracts through sole sourcing. As for them, they are paying them like water. You've seen the evidence for yourself. So, my brothers and sisters, the above enumerated facts badly expose the dishonesty of Alhaji Bawumia on the subject of corruption. Who would have thought that a man who preached vociferously against sole sourcing in opposition would today be the biggest enabler and promoter of stinky sole source and overpriced contracts to his own family, relatives, and cronies? Alhaji Bawumia has proven time and again that he is a chronic liar and therefore cannot be trusted. It is also clear from the foregoing facts that Bawumia is one of the key architects of the ongoing state capture and corruption that is destroying our nation. He is neck deep in the rampant corruption and nepotism that has engulfed this nation-wrecking NPP government. He cannot therefore be trusted to fight the canker of corruption, as he is himself an integral part of the free-for-all grabbing of state resources and the unprecedented state capture we are currently witnessing. It therefore goes without saying that a vote for Alhaji Bawumia is a vote to cover up the corrupt deeds of these nation-wrecking NPP Ejapadia thieves and shield wrongdoers, including Bawumia himself and his corrupt mentor Akufo-Addo, from accountability. Bawumia cannot simply fight corruption. On the contrary, a vote for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is a vote for change, a change that will ensure genuine accountability and justice. As you may be aware, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has promised that when elected, he will confront the canker of corruption head-on by ensuring that the sword of accountability cuts both ways. He has promised to hold members of this corrupt Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government accountable for all their corrupt acts. So, fellow countrymen and women, you can be rest assured that under the next NDC Mahama government, these sleazy, illegal, and inflated sole source contracts will be investigated and the Japadia thieves prosecuted. More importantly, stolen funds will be retrieved for the state for development, and all those found culpable shall be dealt with in accordance with law. This same level of accountability will be extended to members of the future NDC government no matter whose ox is God. Friends, John Mahama is a man with a proven track record and the political will to fight corruption. As president, he demonstrated this commitment when, under very difficult circumstances, he allowed unimpeded investigations into the Jida scandal, leading eventually to the conviction of an appointee of his own government and the retrieval of about 50 million Ghana cedis for the state. Also, as president, he ensured the investigation and retrieval of funds involved in the bus branding scandal, as well as investigations and prosecution of culprits involved in the national service scandal, among others. So high was the standard of accountability under the ex-World NDC Mahama government that a deputy minister who simply expressed a mere wish to make $1 million was asked to resign. This is the character of the man the NDC is presenting to you. A man who has promised to set up an independent value for money office to scrutinize all government procurements above a $5 million threshold, or as shall be recommended by Parliament. A man who has promised to run the leanest and cleanest government in the history of Ghana and ban future appointees of his government from acquiring state assets. My brothers and sisters, President Mahama is a man of impeccable and unblemished integrity. He's certainly the visionary and incorruptible leader we can trust to rescue our dear nation from the abyss and lead us to build the Ghana we all want. A Ghana where corrupt officials are punished and stolen funds are retrieved for nation building. A Ghana that is self-reliant, especially in food, because it prioritizes the modernization of agriculture and the promotion of agribusiness. A Ghana that has a 24-hour economy that offers decent, well-paying jobs for esteeming unemployed youth. A Ghana that has a National Women's Development Bank with a goal to empower a minimum of 1 million women throughout the country within the short to medium term. A Ghana where 1 million young people are trained in coding and other IT models for sustainable employment. A Ghana that has the leanest and cleanest government in history. And above all, a Ghana where ostentation and waste is eschewed and state resources are utilized judiciously for the benefit of the people and not a select few. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for that change is now. The choice is yours to make. Vote for change, vote for John Mahama and the NDC to reset Ghana and build the accountable Ghana we all want. Thank you for your attention.
Additional practicals, they can move them to Tamale and bring them back until eventually we get a proper teaching hospital here.